Welcome, everyone. I just want to underscore again what a beautiful job Tennessee is doing as Eno as she trains into the position. But boy, it's just like boom, you know, to life. There was one little place where she stumbled, and I just want to point it out because it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with her stumbling. Everybody in the room, they're laughing at me like, give praise, then correct, right? And no, that's not it. That's not it. On the sheet in the third service, all right, guys. On the sheet in the third service, we now have like lots of chicken scratches and markings because, unfortunately, and I'll still keep a smile on my face, but the last few times we've done that service, we've been doing offerings for people who have died. And this morning, apparently, unless somebody raises their hand, nobody that we directly know has died this week. So that was kind of, but she got to that point in this service and it's like, oh, wait a minute, whose name am I putting in here? So, that's what that was. So you were
scribbles and sticky notes and
yeah, the sticky notes and scribbles and all of that. But I do want to use that as a jumping off point because not to be morbid, but one of us will die next. I mean it's a fact, right? And I don't mean next week, and I don't mean tomorrow, but as one of the sutras says, life and death are of supreme importance. And then it follows with a shout at the end. Do not squander your life. And of course I lost my mother 10 days ago, so that always makes it more present. Tenshin Roshi's dog Coco passed away a few days after that. A sweetheart, the Zen Center dog. And I got a good cuddle in with her last Saturday. She could barely get up, and she got up and came over to me and just leaned on me and just leaned in. And and thank God I had the presence of mind just to hold her and lean back, because was it the next day or 2 days, Monday? I think, yeah, two days later she was gone. So a part of me right now is let's not waste any time. Like there's no time to waste, and I don't mean that out of imminent fear or anything there, but it's like, let's get to it. Let's just get to it. Let's get this moving. Let's get this done. Whatever expression you want to put on it. Scott and I don't know who else on the screen are heading up to Yokoji this afternoon for a 7-day sesshin. And it begins the fall training period, both there and for us. I encourage you to go onto their website and look at the schedule for the fall training period, because it's Sesshin has a schedule all of its own, which is very intense. But then you take that energy and you keep it going for another 10 weeks, and then end with a Sesshin to kind of end that training period. And I think it's a good moment to look at our lives and look at our practice and double, triple, quadruple down and just go, okay, let's do this. I think it's a good opportunity for us as Prajna Heart to keep working on form and fine-tuning the form, because the form, when it becomes seamless, when we're all within the form, has great freedom within it to do the real work, which is, who is this one seeing through these eyes, hearing through these ears, touching with these fingers? What is this? And for some of us, why? Whichever of those questions compels you to look deeper and work harder, I just encourage all of us, let's take a period of time and really dive in. And then just like training for sports or physical training, we push hard, we push further. There's, a day of sprints and then a day of backing off a little bit. There's hill climbing. You do this in spinning too, right? In a spinning session, you'll climb a hill and then you'll sprint downhill and then you'll coast for a while, and then do it again. That kind of rhythm is built in, and use the rhythm. And so we push hard through the training period and then we relax a little bit in recovery mode and integrate our practice into our everyday breathing and our everyday walking and our everyday working and our everyday loving and our everyday lives. I want to turn to case 17 of the Book of Equanimity. Hogen's hair's breadth. Beautiful, beautiful koan among many beautiful koans. The preface to the assembly says, "Paired geese beating the ground with their wingtips fly up high. A pair of wood ducks stands alone at the edge of a pond. Leaving aside the matter of arrow points meeting head on, what about sawing on a steel counterweight?" The main case of the koan says, "Attention!" Hogen asked administrator monk Shuzan, "If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated. How do you understand this?" Shuzan replied, "If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated." Hogen said, "If that's so, how could you understand it?" Shuzan answered, "I am just this." "How about you, Osho?" Hogen remarked, "If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated." At that, Shuzan bowed low. The verse that follows, "A fly settles on..." Will, where are you? "A fly settles on a balance pan and it tilts. The 10,000 generation scale illuminates unevenness. Pounds, ounces, pennyweights, grains, measure exactly as you will. In the end, you'll lose to my fixed indicator." A lot going on here, okay? But not much going on at the same time. If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated. What distinctions are we painting? What chasms are we creating? I talked last week about just being the end of suffering. Can you be the end of suffering? Can I be the end of suffering? And I presented it really as a choice, right? Do you want to be the end of suffering? Do you not want to be the end of suffering? And a lot of people have listened to that Dharma talk, and I've got some different feedback on it, because it doesn't look all that simple all the time. We say that we are all Buddha. We're all the enlightened, awakened one. And if uttered incorrectly, Scott, that can sound like a platitude, and yet it's a truth. But how do we understand that truth? What does it mean? What does it mean to be the awakened one? It means to be awake. It means to take this practice into your life take that awakeness, take that awareness that you're generating through your zazen and through your study. And Philip, what's the line?
The koan.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first one?
No, the middle one.
In action.
Yeah.
In action and deportment, I manifest the ancient way.
In action and deportment, I manifest the ancient way.
And fall not into possible pessimism.
And fall not into possible pessimism. In action and deportment, I manifest the ancient way and fall not into possible pessimism. That one line, if you take that one line and just live by it, done. In action and deportment, I manifest the ancient way. Kind of cool, right? That's the be the end of suffering. Choose. Choose to be the awakened one. Act in accordance in action and deportment. In action and deportment. Now, what is this? If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated. What is that pointing at? The second you say there's difference, you've created difference. If you want to live nirvana, live heaven, if you want to live heaven on earth, live it. The second you put it out there, over there, it's clearly separated. Now all of a sudden there's something to achieve, something to attain. And what happens to anything we attain? We lose it. What happens to anything you grasp? It's kind of like you got it in your hand, great, now what? If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated. How do you understand this? And then the monk Shuzan says, really, really a brilliant answer. He just repeats it. If there's even a hair's breadth of difference, heaven and earth are clearly separated. A great answer. So then the teacher pushes further. Well, if that's so, how could you understand it? Okay, and this is where Zen always throws us for a loop, because all of a sudden we understand it, but there's nothing to understand. There's nothing to understand. If you are the awakened one, if you are one with everything in the 10 directions, the 10,000 dharmas, the 10,000 things, what is there to understand? Shuzan realizes he's kind of been caught and asks back, how about you, Osho? Which is an honorific. How about you, Osho? And he comes back with, if there's even a hair's breadth of difference, clearly, heaven and earth are clearly separated. So you want to be enlightened? Yeah? All right. Everybody close your eyes. You're in the dark now. Open your eyes and just look. Okay, before you had any thought about what is he doing here, that's it. Okay, close your eyes. Turn to the right. Open your eyes. There it is. It's just this. All right? Reach out and touch the floor. All right? And take your hand and just rub your fingertips together. That's it. Keep rubbing your fingertips together. What does it take to do that? How are you doing that? Who's doing that? Feel it? Try to take the thought out of it. Just feel. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And it's right there all the time. All right? So now I want you to try to stop the next moment from occurring. Really, close your eyes. I can see your open eyes. Close your eyes. Technology works like that. Hey, just try to stop the next moment. How are you doing at that? Open your eyes. Here comes the next moment. All right? Anybody have an opinion about the next moment? You got an opinion about the next moment? Yeah, okay, so what good is that doing you? Here it comes. There it's gone. I mean, I know it seems like I'm just playing a mind game here. But it really is it. Now, who is doing all of this? You know, close your eyes, open your eyes. Who's seeing? Yeah, close your eyes, open your eyes. Who's seeing? You can say I am, but who's that I? There's that beautiful line that I put under the picture of the mountain, and Chalet was like, was there an error? There was no text, it was in brackets. You know, it's like opening your eyes and not being aware of the dawn, or not seeing the dawn. See a sunset without thinking the sunset. You know? Kiss someone without thinking the kiss. You ever tried to like kiss someone and think about it? I'm serious. Like think just now, just like see some people laughing. Like how preposterous is that? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I mean, sometimes it looks like that in the movie. Okay, a little closer, a little closer, a little closer. Okay, now pull the lips. I'm not going to do it on camera. It's like really gross. But, you know, like pull the lips apart slightly. Okay, now touch. Okay, a little more pressure. Move them around a little bit. You know? Okay, now put the emotion into it. How's that feel? Sorry, Ben. All right. I mean, I am playing, but I'm not playing because there's no time to waste, and we waste a lot of time. We waste a lot of time on that hair's breadth of difference. Well, if only I, when I, then I. Should I, could I, would I? You know, we throw up all of these barriers between this and what? You can't stop the next moment from happening. You don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. And if you open yourself up completely to it, then it's there in all its beauty. And it's delicate and it's not, right? You know, because it's always here. But then we've got the fly landing on the scale, right? Okay, so picture one of those, old balance pans like that, right? You know, And this is talking about everything is already imbalanced. Galen talked about this. We talked about this, that the word koan, as Tenshin Roshi describes it, is about bringing things into alignment, bringing things into balance. That enlightenment or awakening is really just that. And so here is this beautiful poetic expression of it already is. Until that fly, that very seemingly light fly of your discrimination lands on the scale and it all goes to hell. So in a way, it's that delicate for us to handle with love and care. And yet it's always there, because what happens to a truly balanced balance when the fly takes off? What happens? It comes right back, it settles. What happens when you're doing zazen and you go spinning off, and then you come back to one? You come back to your breath. What happens when we're in the zendo? And the chant is slightly off, or the Sangha is slightly off. And then all of a sudden in Kinhin, it's moving as one. And then in the next chant, it just goes. And in the process of Sesshin, we get a period of time where we allow the balance just to go. Because all of our flies eventually fly away. But, it takes practice to let go of that fly. That really small, little, niggling fly of no. It can't be that easy. Bzzz. I'm not Buddha. Bzzz. This is not my life. And before you know it, you have a swarm of flies all landing on one side of the scale. Like getting rid of the hair's breadth of difference looks like this. Away, flies. Because when you sweep that away, everything's in balance. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to them. Delusion is the cutting of the light. If you stop cutting the light is there. I mean, it's a seemingly impossible equation. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to them. How do you put an end to things that are inexhaustible? You just stop doing it. Just stop doing it and there's the light. Stop buzzing around and there's the scale in balance. Stop talking about the hair's breadth of difference, and heaven and earth are all the same. And sometimes it's really hard, and I've talked to many of you about this. Sometimes it's really hard when you have that moment of realization and you see how easy it actually is. And it seems like nobody around you does. And you're like, oh my God, and you want to start grabbing people. And of course, the first people you grab are the ones closest to you, or the ones that are going to recoil the fastest and go, get out of here. Don't tell me how to live, right? Or then you go out on the street corner and start preaching Zen on a soapbox, That's the platitude version again, It's all changing! Nothing is fixed! Wake up! Maybe I should do that. That'd be kind of fun. Go down a corner in Skid Row. Or better yet, Beverly Hills. Actually, at Skid Row, I bet you there are a whole bunch of people there that already get it. I go to Beverly Hills and stand on a crate and go, nothing ever stays the same, so you should awaken. Awaken, take heed. Do not squander your life. Put a little hat there and see if I get any money. So, what do? Just live that life. And I think I put it in the newsletter. I know Sandra and I talked about this. If you're ever just feeling like hopeless about it, get out of the Zendo, get out of your apartment, get away from the loved one that you're going to convert or transform, and just go to the grocery store, or go to the airport, or go to the hardware store, and just lift your head and open your eyes. And I guarantee you, your eyes are going to meet someone else's, and it's going to be that transmission that we talked about in book club. You're going to see them and they're going to see you, and it's going to pass between you. And in that moment, there is no hair's breadth of difference. And you all know what I'm talking about, whether you call it, no matter what you call it. It doesn't need the form of a religion around it. It doesn't need the form of a practice around it. That moment, a teacher to his student, two musicians, strangers in a grocery store, strangers passing in the street. Lift your eyes and open your eyes and connect. It does not have to be Zen. Of course, it all is Zen, but it doesn't have to be Zen. It doesn't have to be called anything, because as soon as you call it something, it's and everything's off balance again. Let's see, what else is there? What am I missing in my rant here? Shoes on bowed low, be appreciative, say thank you. I'm very grateful for the practice. The 10,000 generation scale that has been around forever in balance illuminates unevenness. The universe, you know when you're out of balance. Here's a new one for Zazen. Shoo fly, don't bother me. Shoo fly, don't bother me. Shoo fly, don't bother me. Shoo fly? And your Buddha. There's a Sunday for you. All right. Questions, answers. Scott's already got his hand up over here. Good man. So I will mute myself over here and go for it.
Thanks. That was really beautiful. And when you opened, you asked a question that.
There we go. I think I got it.
Almost. As I was listening.
Wait. This wonderful touch point? Not working.
Great and powerful.
Okay.
And towards the beginning, you asked the question, can I be the end of suffering? Right? And I struggle with that kind of question a lot, and I was struggling in kind of the first few minutes of your talk with that question, because to me that implies, a couple of things. One is you have to do something, right? Do something different. You have to be something different. You have to can I be the end of suffering? And so it also implies grasping for that and expecting something from that. But I think that the koan in your talk was so beautiful because it kind of, it answers that question directly, which is you can get caught up in that, trying to be the end of suffering and expecting that suffering will not ever happen again. And you've solved it. And you sit and therefore you shouldn't suffer again. But really it's taking that step back, and to be the end of suffering, it's, I don't know, I'm not, my words are not coming out, but it's kind of the wrong question, I guess. Because it could, not the wrong question, but it could really create, if you read it the wrong way or you try to answer it the wrong way, it can create a lot of suffering, that question. But really, by taking that kind of step back and being and understanding.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. You see him struggling for words.
I am.
Yeah. It's because the word, and that's not, how's the sound? Are we echoing? Okay. The struggle for, you guys can hear me, right? Yeah. We're not, the struggle for words is not a failure. It's actually an indication, of seeing it, right? The language be the end of suffering, be the end of hunger, take a stance. You're right. It can set up that, like, okay, I got to do something. The language always fails in the end, but the reason we use that language be, or I use that language be, is because it's just being. It's not doing something to become something. I'm not saying attain it. I'm not saying go get it. It's just be it. And that's why I played also with you want to be awakened, close your eyes, open your eyes. Close your eyes, open your eyes. Just to get some sense of, like, oh, well, there it is. Oh, I already am. Now, of course, you have to have your eyes open to be awake. That's a metaphor too. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say. The be is the key word, right? Where versus if you focus on what can I do to achieve the end of suffering, right? And then you're setting up that grasping for the expectation of it, that suffering won't exist.
Yeah,
it's the be is the
yes. There's
that's what kind of the koan in your talk kind of just made me realize and kind of release that struggle.
Good. There's a paradigm or a format. What am I calling? The word will come to me, but there's the do, say, or say, do, be. Okay, which is how we're trained from the time we're young to operate. I say I want this, so, or I say I'm going to be this, so I need to do certain things, and then I will be that. Okay. What we do in our practice is flip that on your head. I am awakened, therefore I do these things, and therefore I speak in this manner. You just take it on as your life rather than trying to achieve it. And then action and words and thought follow from that. Okay? And I know you've all heard this before, but I'll do it again. Zeno's paradox. If you're here and the wall's there and you step halfway to the wall, and then you step halfway to the wall, and you step halfway to the wall, do you ever get to the wall? That's the trap of, if I do this, and I do that, and I do this, and I do that, and I do this, and I do that someday. Why wait? This is who I am. This is how I'm going to be. These will be my actions and deportment. And through them, I am manifesting the ancient way. Yeah, great question. All right. Anybody else want to wade in? Marsh. There you are.
I just want to, just as a tribute to Arthur, say he is the end of suffering, and I live with him, and so I know that he takes care of all of us, the dog, the cat, all of us. And so I'm living with someone who is the end of suffering as a stand. And I certainly appreciate it. It certainly has made my life wonderful. So just that much.
Marsh, how has it made your life wonderful?
I don't suffer.
Well said.
Someone who's a partner who is aware of me and who is not, making things hard for me, is always looking to make things easier for me. And so that is that practice, perfected.
Thanks, Marsh. But I'm assured that you've had problems occur and different pains and things like that. So how is that not suffering?
It isn't suffering because it isn't. It works. It just works.
Yeah, again, words fail. Words fail. I was thinking, Marsh, about the word problem and the way we use the word problem, problems to solve,
Yeah.
And how we get so wrapped up in the problems. I was going to look up problem in the Latin roots and all of that, and I should do that. But it occurred to me, just kind of like my talk last week, that part of the problem with problem is just the way we hold it.
Yeah.
Like if you're a person that likes puzzles, like crossword puzzles or Rubik's Cube, you pick it up and work with it. It's a problem to solve, but you don't hold it like some of the problems of our lives. And I know it sounds Pollyanna-ish to the nth degree, but what if everything that occurred, if we're just like, well, this is what's occurring, what do I do about it? What are the next actions? What are the next steps? Even if it's a problem at work, to the extent that we create this hair's breadth of difference and say, oh, there's the problem, and like, versus just, okay, what's step one?
Yeah. What's next? What's next?
What's next? What's next? What's next? Because what's next is coming anyway. Next is coming for you. You might as well enjoy next. Might as well embrace next. And sometimes next hurts, but it's a point of practice, right? It's a point of practice. I know sometimes that's difficult to hear because it sounds like, oh, yeah, that's good for you, Dan. It's good for you, Shiro. You've got the stuff you've got, and you've been married 31 years, and you're going up to the mountain. That's fine for you. But make it fine for you, because you all have amazing things right there. Everything's right there for you.
It's definitely an amazing group. It's definitely an amazing group.
The Xterra has not, the charging sockets have not worked for probably 2 years. And it's like, oh God, this car, it's got almost 200,000 miles on it. It's falling apart, as evidenced by the sockets that won't work. And it took it to different people to solve the problem. And they're like, I don't know, we checked the fuse. It must be something in the wiring harness. You're going to have to trace that and trace this and trace that, right? So 2 years of that. And then you got to carry the power brick so that, my phone doesn't run its battery down while I'm using GPS to tell me how to go places. And it's like, this problem is so annoying for like over 2 years, and like one solution is like, go buy a new car, buy a new truck, finally get the Tesla, whatever it is, and I called this guy over Unique Car Stereo and Auto on York, and he's like, well, I tested it and there's power going to the socket, so it must be bad socket. And I said, well, how come both of the sockets have failed at the same time? He said, I don't know, but that's the case. He said, I don't have the part, but you can get it from Nissan. I called Nissan, you know, $52.18 later, in about 5 minutes of unplugging a socket and plugging in a socket myself, the car is brand new again. After 2 years of suffering. And I'm not using the word lightly. It's like 2 years of like, this car. What'll go wrong next?
Yeah, my metaphor is pickup sticks. Life is like pickup sticks. You just gotta figure out which stick is next.
I know I'm doing a lot of yelling in the room and that to screen. So any other questions? Fly! Yeah, Todd, go for it. Todd and then Dylan.
It's acceptance of all of it. That's the practice as far as I can ascertain.
Yeah, and is acceptance a submission?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, I guess. Is it a submission? I don't know.
Well, if somebody came and started attacking Tanya, what are you going to do?
Well, react.
Yeah, act in accordance. I just want to make really clear that we're not talking about standing by idly going, you know.
That's not what I mean by acceptance.
I know it's not what you mean, Todd. I'm just using that as a leaping off.
Absolutely. Well, just take it as it comes, and it is what it is. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. And you know, how do you want to show up and be, right?
Right.
Suffer for 2 years because you and how do you want it to affect your life, right? It's just
right.
a problem to solve, right? The 2 years with the Xterra, or do you want to get pissed off and all caught up and how you become a victim to the circumstance.
Yeah.
If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, and
my work is to not become victim to being alive in existence, right? And having this experience that we're all having as humans, for me personally. And that's a challenge for me.
I don't know if it's a challenge or it's the work you're doing, you know? Yeah, I mean, because I see you, Todd, actually navigating that really successfully because you take it on as the work that you're doing. You take it on as the next, as Marsh said. Not everybody does, so.
Well, there's days I don't as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too. God, this sucks.
I mean, sometimes it really just sucks.
Yeah, 4:15 again. Ah.
I guess I think that for me, like I feel like the whole thing kind of just made my mind go to, this is really cheesy, but to Yoda and how he always talks about there is no try, there's only do. Is that in that moment you're choosing, okay, I have to get the plugs for the car, or because I want to end suffering here. And I don't want to put more stuff in the landfill, and I don't want to consume more. So you kind of have to go, okay, I want to make this choice. But it's the feelings that get in our way about feeling pissed off that why didn't they build it better? Why do I have to take this? Why is this breaking right now? Why is this costing me money right now? It's so easy to get hooked into
the hair's breadth of difference.
There's less of difference in that next moment that you didn't see coming. And that's really all of it all the time. Most of the time you don't ever know what's coming. I'm sitting here waiting for the, forest fires to choke us out next or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
But I'm like, okay, are we ready? Okay, because it's going to happen, right? So all that kind of, not to be negative, but to be, I'm going to be here and I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah, you prepare. You have your go bags ready.
Yeah, keep dancing. Right?
Yeah, keep dancing. Yeah, I mean, there's that expression, pain is inevitable, life, suffering is optional, you know. And yet Buddha says, you know, the translation I like the best is there is the fact of suffering. It's one of the truths that we hold, that there is the fact of suffering. There's also a way out, and here it is. You know, as you've said, how do you hold it? What do you do with it?
Well, and then sometimes we just feel like we get more than our fair share, or you know, we get wrapped into fairness and all those other things, or exhaustion.
Yeah.
All those things that take us out of balance.
Yeah. Lori's nodding her head vigorously. Elaine?
There's another component of it for me when I guess it's probably based on my expectations, maybe. Sometimes I'll have an idea of how something's going to go, and that just gets derailed. And it's a resistance to that derailment that makes it so hard sometimes, but sometimes, and largely due to my practice, I've been able to get into a place of just accepting it and moving through it. And in that process of moving through it, and oftentimes, more often than not, I'm finding the outcome ends up being just what I was supposed to have, or like something I might not have imagined doing otherwise had it not been a result of like derailing my plans. And maybe it's thinking that backwards that's the right way to do it. I'm not really sure, but it's kind of interesting how that happens. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I want to, as another creative person, you probably thinking the same thing, but you know, we're always solving problems.
Yeah.
You know, so you've had a life of doing that, creating what you create, and you know, sometimes you know the pressure's on you, or the pressure's on me often in the creative realm, because it's I have people putting pressure on me. And well, they should be with the money they're paying. But it's like all of those pieces, and Todd, you know what I'm talking about. All those pieces come together, and you have to really spend some time breaking it down. And so, I mean, I just want to put it out there that it's not like, okay, well, I have this practice and it's going to take me right there. You really have to utilize all of your being and all of your awareness to get there, so you can really get there and solve that problem. So I'm working on that every day.
Yeah. So, go.
Okay. The koan reminded me of the word grace. Like, what is grace? To do something gracefully, to live in grace. And in other traditions, it's some kind of connection with God, this God, whatever that means to you, and that's, we can be graceful in traffic. You know, we can be graceful when we are writing up a report that maybe doesn't feel so connected with our creativity or what we enjoy, and we can move towards being graceful when we have an argument with our partner, and also graceful in whatever is bringing us joy. You know, that, I mean, that's, for me, that's what the Herod's breadth of difference is there's no separation. I can be graceful as I trip and make a laugh, or, you know, as we bow and no, you're not supposed to bow right now. You know, that there's no problem. So that's what came to me.
Nice.
All right. Anybody else?
Someone has his hand.
Who is that? Oh, Sandra, and then
Dylan?
oh, Dylan. Wait, Sandra, hang on a second. Yeah, that's right, Dylan. I did forget about you. Sorry.
All good. I'm super grateful to be here. I just wanted to, I guess, kind of share my translation and ask you if it's kind of super off. I really like what you said about relinquishing opinions. And you were talking about the fly on the scale. And I was curious if the the translation in my head was the fly is our thoughts, our opinions, and our judgments and stuff. And the way that we kind of shoo those flies away is by just not having a conversation with our neuroses. Does that make sense? So the fly will always come in. I can't stop thinking, right? Um, but I can choose to not have a conversation with it, right? Uh, like the thought of like this person is stupid at my job or whatever comes in. I'm not in charge of that, but the thing that I am in charge of is not continually going, yeah, you know what? And this is why that opinion is correct, and this is why, you know what I mean? And not just kind of going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah. You're spot on. You know, the fly in the to use a Britishism, but the fly with respect to this koan is obviously the hair's breadth of difference is the fly, but what you're talking about absolutely. Now I'm not educated enough to know whether neuroses is the right word or not, but I think you can drop neuroses because it has some judgment in itself. You know, it's just yeah, like you said, you don't have to have a conversation with the fly. I love that. Now I have this image of everybody going around going, "Hey, fly," you know, and they've created a bunch of crazies with flies in their head. But no, it's actually really beautiful. Those opinions, thoughts, judgments, beliefs, positive or negative, by the way.
Right. I think I always treat the negative ones with much more with a heavier gun, right? With bigger bullets, right? And I don't treat the positive ones as like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Also beautifully said, because that my positive prejudices are truth and my negative prejudices are not, or my opinion is truth and theirs is falsehood, you know, is what's got us all trapped. And, you know, versus the what is in accordance with an awakened point of view about what to do next. How do I dance with that opposite point of view? What do I do? But no, you're on the right track, and really nicely said.
Cool.
I just love the conversation with the fly. One of Mike Pence's head, perhaps, you know. The word prejudice too, right, is just prejudging. I'm stealing that from Roshi. Prejudice, prejudge. Before anything's happened, you've already judged it. You already know what's going to happen, or what should happen, or what you want to happen, positive or negative. You know, and sometimes those what we think of as positive prejudices can keep us separated from everything as much, if not more, than the negative ones. Because we're just so sure that we've prejudged this as being right. Interesting little play with that word, prejudice. Because we use it so much in just a purely negative way. Prejudice against something. You know, but when you think of it as prejudging, and take the pre and the judge out of it, then you just got what's going on. Okay, now what? All right. Nice work, Dylan. Keep going. Sandra raised her hand, and then Gabriel.
Is that audible?
Yes.
Okay. Well, language can be a problem or a hindrance as a human being. So I don't know, we haven't been speaking with language for very long in our history. So I guess it's more awkward than we want it to be. But I was thinking that the it that we're talking about today, the question I have is that a state or a portal?
Yes.
Yes, that is the question.
Yeah. But I mean, it's that sounds like a cheap out, but yes. You know, that's like Scott's question about being. You know, it's a state and a portal. You know, how do you? It's funny. It's like you're not even eliminating the hair's breadth of difference, right? You're just not tipping the scale. Tricky. This is why the metaphor is beautiful. Fly, you know, so light, so tiny, those little delicate legs, you know. But when that tiny little delicate fly with its legs lands on your forehead, you know, which goes to Dylan's point. So tiny, so delicate, so temporary, and so powerful. Yeah. Gabriel.
Thank you for the Dharma talk and for everyone's contributions. Yeah, I really liked all of the interactions that we did with touching our fingertips and everything. Really hammered the point. But when you were talking about trying to stop the next moment, like I recognize that that is impossible, but I feel like when I'm in the Zhu state, sometimes when I'm in Zazen or I'm caught up present in an activity that is kind of like stopping, like the time, like there is no time to stop, which is just interesting.
Yeah. And again, language starts to fail at that point, right? Because, well, there's no time to stop. There's no moment that's next or not next, right? When you truly see it, it blasts through all of that. There's this line that it was very confusing to people. I may have talked. I'm losing track of time myself, not just the clock today, but you know, I alone am the world honored one, you know, proclaimed Buddha, and people were like, well, that sounds kind of selfish, but if that I is really big, you know, it includes everyone. It's just going, oh, this, and it gets to that lack of boundaries in time and space that you're talking about. Yeah. Drugs without drugs. I really appreciate everybody's time. Anybody else here? And a couple of things on time. Tenshin Roshi has moved his Sunday Dharma talks back to Sunday. They were on Saturdays for a while. So in 25 minutes, he will be on Zoom if you want to check out what the master has to say. I know some of us are headed for Sesshin. We'll be there all week, but the Sangha will be together next Sunday, and I ask you to sit strongly, you know, on Zoom and in the room, those of you that are here and there, because it matters. It matters. I also ask any of you to, or all of you to, take a look at the schedule. This thing called Sesshin that we do is not just, you know, endurance or, okay, now we're going to go see what it's like to meditate for a week. It's a core part of the practice because in whatever length of time you can do, it gives you time to burn through all the flies, you know? It gives you a chance to shoo them away. Or, in fact, in Sesshin, you don't even do any shooing. You just wait for them to take off. And they do. So we have a beginner's mind session at Yokoji on the end of October. That actually ends on Halloween Day, and then there's pretty fun, cool Oban ceremony on Halloween Day. I know for people with children that's difficulty because it's a big day, but for those who don't, beginner's mind session is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a short taste of it. And then starting November 7th through the 14th, right? 7th through 14th, I think, is a 7-day session also at Yokoji. That's the full meal deal. Make time for this somehow if you can going forward. It's an important part of training. If 7 days doesn't work for your schedule, you can do part-time. You just, sign up part-time. Just do that as you're signing up. If money is a problem, that can be worked out. Okay? These things have prices. They're there to support the ongoing functionings of this center and Yokoji. And if you have the means, that's what it's there for. It keeps everything going. But if money is an issue for anyone, that can be worked out because this is not a pay-to-play practice. All right? So look at your schedule and see if you can end the training period with all of us with some time on the mountain. Food, lodging, beauty, and some zazen. I think that we should probably ring the bell, get people on their way.